And as happened last year, we received the first snapshot a few days after Minecraft Live. Today we have snapshot 23W42A. And definitely the element that has the most importance in this snapshot is this one, the crafter. So the crafter looks like this, and this is the recipe. It takes iron ingots, the crafting table, a dropper, and 2 redstone. This will be one of the most expensive redstone elements. It is placed like this. And depending on the angle from which we place it, its orientation will be defined. So this is the front part, these are the sides, which are alike, this is the back part, on the top is this grid, much alike the crafting tables, and this is the texture from the bottom part. I do imagine a lot of people building with this stuff. So depending on its orientation, we have 12 possibilities. This one is facing south, east, north, west, and if it's facing up, we have these orientations. If we press F3, we're going to see this one is north up, northeast, north south, northwest. And also, if it's facing down, we have these 4 variations, which gives us a total of 12. So the crafter works basically like this. We have this element, and we have a grid of 3x3. So depending on the recipe of the element we want, for example we place these planks and we obtain a crafting table, with left click we're going to block all the slots we do not need. Once the item is on praise, we cannot take this item manually, but the way the crafter does his job is receiving a redstone signal. You can see that the item gets shot out to a small distance. The direction from which it comes is this face. Or at least to me it looks like a face. Okay, so the other function is that we can also load the items automatically. For example, using a hopper. As all the slots are filled, the items start to fill the first one again. And more or less the items get balanced out. There is some there. A few redstone signals. And we obtain our item. In this case it is quite simple because the ingredients of the recipe are the same item. In this case oak planks. But in case we have to craft something that involves other items. So here we have the 6 slots. And we're going to load up some planks and sticks. Let's flick the lever. And in this particular case we see this item set up like this, obtaining oak fences. And according to the recipe, we receive 3 of them. So these are still some very simple examples with a few items, but we can also do the more complicated crafts. For example, the cake, where we have milk, sugar, eggs, wheat. Remember that for this recipe, empty buckets will be left over. What happens? Redstone signal, and they also get spit out. As you previously saw, depending on where the crafter is oriented to, the items will be spit out. And another thing we may automize is the collecting of the product. So one solution is placing a hopper just beneath the block where the items are coming from, in front of the crafter. As you saw, this crafter's back here just spat out the items, and were left over there. But in the case of this one, the hopper did absorb the sticks. The other solution is placing a storage block in front, and the crafter will be able to deposit the items there, as if it was a dropper. So here we can craft some sticks, and they remain stored out. And another solution remains on placing the product on a transport line. If the product is ejected over these blocks, they only reach a certain distance, but they do get further away in ice. And of course a transport line sometimes involves water, so the items might be ejected out on this line. Depending on the slots you require for the recipe, remember that the order in which the items are deposited is the following. First is going to fill out this slot, then this one, then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're going to place a line of hoppers, directing all the items towards the crafter, and feeding each of these hoppers some droppers with the specific item of the recipe. So this will be slot 1, slot 2, 3, 4, and as you can see here, I have the recipe of the cake displayed out. I place these comparators here in order to know if the droppers are full. Let's request our ingredients, and here we have the full recipe. So craft, and the cake as well as the buckets have been deposited on the chest. So the crafters can store the items they craft on different storages. For example, we have normal chest, shop chest, dispenser, dropper, hopper, the chisel bookshelf, the shackler box, another crafter, minecart with chest. Of course, this also works with the minecart with hopper, furnace. In this case, the item is a field, so it remains here. The blast furnace, the smoker, and as an experimental characteristic, but we may also do this on pots. And the following are examples where this mechanic doesn't work, but it was worth it to make the experiment. For example, we have the booking quill, so it is not able to place it on the lectern. Composting materials, for example the seeds. No. What about ender eyes and portal frames? Nothing. Or maybe iron ingots and beacons. No results. For the next contraption, I took the previous one, which has the cake recipe. Let's request the ingredients. Right now every dropper is full. Here we have the cake. What I want to store on this chest, for example, is only cakes. So down here I install an item filter, which is going to extract all the buckets. Craft. And all the buckets come down here. Filter consists on only these hoppers facing here, a comparator, 2 pieces of redstone, a repeater taking the signal here, a torch which is going to block this hopper, and this hopper is configured like this. Filter items 1, 1, 1, and 12. Another thing we can do is, for example, let's suppose the crafter is filled up with items. But sometimes the crafter doesn't receive the signal, or some items are left over and the recipe is not full. And we want to remove the leftovers over here. So we place a hopper here and release from redstone signal. That way their items are removed and we clean out the crafter, storing everything here. Now we can also extract a signal from the crafter. We can use a comparator, and for example here we have a power level 1. And this is because only one of the slots is occupied by an item. Let's suppose we fill out the entire stack, and again power level 1. Now let's fill up 2 of the slots. 1 full stack and 1 item more. Power level is 2. Let's take this out. A lot less items, only 2. But the power level remains 2. And like this we can fill out all the 9 slots. And the power level is going to be 9. This element puts out a power level equivalent to how many of the slots is occupied, regardless if it's only 1 item or a full stack. We can use the crafter to craft other crafters. So we have this assembly line, which is the same contraption used previously. But we have these droppers down here. You can see here, this is the recipe for the crafter. Here we have the comparators, which are going to tell us which of the droppers are empty. We can see over here, we have 2 of the droppers that are empty. And the 2 elements we are lacking are these ones. And I have decided that these elements are also going to be crafted. These are the crafting table and the dropper. You can see there is displayed the recipe for the dropper and here the recipe for the crafting table. So I come to a front part, and before requesting the ingredients I need for the crafter, I can see there are 2 of the empty ones. We're going to craft 1 dropper. So here it is. And now we're going to craft a crafting table. Here we're ready. So all the comparators are lit up, and now we're going to request the ingredients for the crafter. Craft, and here it is. I don't know who of you is going to build one of these machines, but you can. And finally I want to show you 2 applications that is probably going to change the way we build farms in Minecraft. For example, a zombified piglin farm, we obtain a lot of golden nuggets. For storage purposes, it is quite convenient to craft this into golden ingots. So let's start this over here. You can see this one filling out. And golden ingots are crafted, which starts to be stored over here on another crafter. And as you imagine, the second crafter is now destined to produce golden blocks. That way storage becomes more compact. So simply what I'm doing is that behind the crafter I have this comparator, which with a signal sends it back. When it receives exactly power 9, it sends the signal activating the crafter. The way I calibrate this one is with another comparator, here a lectern, and inside the lectern a book with 15 pages set on page 9. Because it is precisely power 9 which I want, and I do exactly the same thing with this crafter that builds the gold blocks. Finally the golden blocks are stored here. So this is really going to simplify storage for our zombified piglin farms. And the second application I imagine is going to be very popular is kelp. As you imagine, for kelp farms, the only application is drying up the kelp and building these blocks. So I plan to use the crafter to automate this part. In this case we're going to use smokers, because they are faster since dry kelp is considered a food source. So let's suppose this chest is being filled up from the kelp farm. And we have the other storage, which is being filled up by dried kelp blocks. So here we have this arrangement of these smokers, hoppers. Whatever is the product from the smokers is being deposited on this crafter, with the same arrangement as previously shown. And when the dry kelp block is ready, it is being stored on this chest. So I have these minecars with hoppers, which are going to go over these hoppers, pick up the product, and filling up the smokers. In this top part, kelp, and the bottom one, the fill, or the dry kelp blocks. Since the production of kelp is high, I previously filled up the smokers with these blocks, and the way to configure these hoppers in order for them to not absorb too many items is this one. From the 5 slots, the first one is going to be fill, and the next one is going to be filler items. And of course we must configure the minecart with hopper the next way. The first slot is going to be fill, and the next 4 slots is going to be name items, different from the items used on the hoppers. So let's turn it on, and the minecart with hoppers are going to continue back and forth. Kelp is being deposited and the smokers turn on. They go to the crafter, and it is producing the dry kelp blocks, automatically storing them here. In this case I placed 9 smokers, since the recipe for the block is 9 kelp. But you can place more or less, depending on the production you want. So this has been all for this video, and let's see further on for new changes on this block. Maybe a lot of people think this is not a revolution, but maybe they are underestimating the power of this block. But in my experience, each block that serves as an interface with redstone and the rest of the Minecraft world is quite an important block, as has been the case with the observer, the comparator, or even the hopper. This has been Big Brother 161, and remember, I will be watching.